Hello, and welcome back to Down the Shore Homestead. My sister has been asking me to find her a healthy donut recipe, and after talking with her, I found out that she loves strawberry donuts. And after a lot of research, I think I finally found a healthy but tasty strawberry donut recipe. So in today's video, I'm going to walk you through how to make a healthy and tasty strawberry donut. And if that sounds like something that might interest you, then stick around, and as we say around here, let's go down the shore. Thanks for sticking around. So in order to make these healthy but tasty strawberry donuts, you're going to need a cup of flour, 6 tablespoons or 1/3 of a cup of sugar. If you're going to use honey instead of sugar, you're not going to use 6 tablespoons of honey. You're only going to use about 4 tablespoons of honey. And then later on, you're going to cut out the amount of milk that you add, because honey is liquid. So you need to not only reduce the amount of sugar that you're adding, but you also have to reduce the amount of liquid that you're adding. But for this recipe that I'm making today, I'm just going to use sugar. So again, that was a cup of flour, 1/3 of a cup or 6 tablespoons of sugar. You need 1 teaspoon of baking powder. You need 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Here you're going to need 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk, or what I'm going to use is 1/4 cup of milk. If you're using the honey, you won't add the 1/4 cup of milk. So I'm going to use 1/2 cup of my homemade Greek yogurt, which I have a video on how to make, and I'll link it somewhere in the video here. And I also added 1/4 cup of milk. You need 1 tablespoon of butter that's melted. You need 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and I have the organic vanilla. You don't have to use organic, but I prefer to try and minimize the amount of chemicals that I add to my body. And I have one of our fresh laid eggs from our chickens out back. So I preheated the oven to 325 degrees. And now what I'm going to do is add the flour, the 6 tablespoons of sugar or 1/3 of a cup, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, not baking soda, baking powder. Now, if you've been following this channel for a while, you know that we've had some epic failures and some successes. So we'll have to see if this one is a success or an epic failure. You'll have to stick around to find out. And then I'm going to add the 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. And now I'm going to add in the yogurt and milk. I'm right-handed, I got to switch. I'm going to add in the yogurt and milk. And again, you could use buttermilk instead if you'd like. My sister has a lot of food restrictions, so that's why I went with the Greek yogurt and the milk instead of the buttermilk. So you're going to mix this, add in the butter. And the 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm just going to scrape around the sides so that when I start mixing it, I don't make a mess. Because if you remember correctly, when I made the best chocolate chip cookies ever, I had a butter apocalypse. We don't want that to happen again. So now I'm gonna scrape off my scraper here and just set that aside for a second. I'm gonna add in my egg. And we're gonna mix this all together. And I will fast forward over this for you. Oh, I forgot to tell you that you need strawberries. So unfortunately, I don't have any fresh strawberries. So what I'm going to do is pull some frozen strawberries out of the freezer that we purchased fresh, and I'm going to use them frozen in the mix. And you need a 1/4 cup of strawberries. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I went and I chopped up some of the fresh strawberries that we had frozen, and I'm going to add this to the mix. Actually, I think I'll switch. I'll use the scraper. And I'm just going to finish mixing all this together. And also, I forgot to mention, I don't have donut pans. So I can't make these as donuts. I'm going to put them in a mini muffin pan that I have. So these are going to be mini muffins instead of mini donuts. But basically, it's the same thing. I mean, it's just a donut in a muffin pan. So it's still a donut, but it's going to be shaped like a muffin. So that looks pretty incorporated. So normally what you would do is put this into a piping bag, or you can cheat and use a Ziploc bag and cut the tip off and then just squirt it out that way. But because I'm going to use my mini muffin pan, so I'm going to grease the bottom of the pan, pour the batter into the pan, and I'll be right back. So I wanted to just show you guys how easy it is to just take a stick of butter to grease the muffin pan. Super easy. Looks pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is pour the batter about, I would say about halfway. Now you can also make this as a chocolate donut or as a vanilla donut, just by, you can leave the strawberry out to make a vanilla donut. And if you want chocolate donuts, you would add cocoa instead of strawberries. So we're going to bake these for 10 to 15 minutes. I'll check on them at the 10-minute mark because everybody's stove is different. So I suggest that you start at 10 minutes, check them, and then I guess depending on how they look, wait another 2 minutes until you get to the 15-minute mark. They should be done by then if they're not done at the 10-minute mark. So I'm going to throw these in, and while they're cooking, we're going to make the glaze. So stick around. I'll be right back. So while the donuts are baking, or in my case, little muffins, I have my homemade Greek yogurt and some powdered sugar. And what I'm going to do is mix 1/2 cup of powdered sugar with 1 tablespoon of my Greek yogurt. And we're going to mix this all together to make a glaze. Now, you might need a little bit more than a tablespoon of yogurt. You're just going to have to, play around with the consistency. Now, you can also make the glaze with milk. So again, you would do the same thing. Just start with a little bit of powdered sugar and keep adding milk or yogurt until you get the consistency that you want for the glaze. Going to try another tablespoon here, or teaspoon. I'm just going to mix that all together, and as you can see, I think that's pretty good consistency. We'll see. We're going to check on the donuts because the timer went off for 10 minutes. And these don't seem like they're done. So I'm going to put them in for another 2. And while we wait for those to finish cooking, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the recipe. So the recipe called for 1/2 cup of chopped strawberries to mix into the glaze, so that when the donuts were done, you would mix them in with the strawberry glaze. And then you can drizzle this glaze that we just made over that. But because my strawberries are frozen, I didn't feel like they would set right in the glaze. So I skipped that part. But if you want, all you have to do is add a half a cup of chopped strawberries to this mix and use that as your glaze. And then what you can do is make this mix, which is just powdered sugar and yogurt or milk, to drizzle on top of the donuts. When the strawberry glaze sets, you can drizzle with this after. So we'll check on these in just a couple minutes. Okay, I pulled the donuts out, and if you push on them, they spring back. So I think they're done. So what I'm gonna do is let them cool in the pan for 2 minutes, and then I'm going to move them to a wire rack over here and let them cool until they're at room temperature at least, and then we'll do the glazing. So stay tuned. I gotta let these cool off enough for us to put the glaze on. Okay, so I think it's time to glaze. Now, I didn't let these cool to room temperature, but we're gonna test this out. Let it drip. They look like they're doing pretty good, so we'll just go ahead and glaze the rest of these. Now, if you wanted, you could put donut holes in these. If you only have a muffin pan, just poke a little hole in the middle. But since these are from my sister and my husband, doesn't really matter. They smell delicious. Rocco's over there looking at me like, hey, do I get one of those? I have to tell him no. Which actually he probably could have the actual donut itself without the frosting on it. So he might get lucky. I might let him have the next batch that I make without the glazing on it. Okay, so they still have to set, but I figured I'll take the ugly one and I'll try it out and let you know how it tastes. Not bad. They have a good strawberry flavor. They taste like a cake donut. And so I would say that this is a success. So my sister should be happy with these. They're healthier than going to the local donut shop. And she doesn't have to wait for her birthday every year to have a donut. Now, I will say that the original recipe only called for buttermilk. There was no option for yogurt, the Greek yogurt and milk that I used. But I was trying to find an even healthier recipe for my sister. So this is technically my version of the original version. So what I'll do is I'll put the original recipe in the description below, and under that, I'll put my version that I made today below that, so that you guys can try both recipes and let me know in the comments below which one you like better. And also remember, if you don't have a donut pan, just use a mini muffin pan. It worked just as well. So there's no holes in the middle. I don't think your family will really care if there's no donut hole in the middle. Now, I will be doing another video down the road here in a little bit on how to make donuts and donut holes from just one of those containers of biscuits. If you want to see that video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you get the notification that the new video is up. And if you liked this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, because that helps push it out to other people to see how you can make a good, healthy donut. And also, it's the beginning of peach season in South Jersey. So I think what I'm going to do is try making this recipe with some chopped up peaches as well, because my husband's favorite fruit is peach. So play around with the recipe, try different fruits. You never know. It might not work. It might be an epic fail, but the strawberries were a success and they were frozen. Frozen fresh, but they were frozen. So play around with the recipes that I give you guys. Let me know in the comments below what you've tried and what works and what doesn't work. And Rocco's down here patiently waiting. You got to see this face. Hey, Rock, are you waiting because you want to go outside and play some ball? Say thanks for sticking around, everybody, and we'll see you next time.